the tough guy, and you're gonna listen to me. Now follow me.
Yeah, I hate the character type. Anyway, roll
My
your dice.
voice does not sound natural.
I'm Batman. Hey guys.
It's staying in. It's staying in.
Oh no. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
I'm looking at these words and I realize I don't know how an M and an H next to each other. Mahoro? Mahorori. Sorry, the language of Shona, which is hello singular and plural, and they are located. It is a Bantu language of the Shona people of Zimbabwe. A colonial government in the 1950s. Wait a second, what? That's really recent.
You were expecting to say what, 1850s, and you're like,
Yeah.
19.
I was like, wait a second. Well, okay, so the reason why it sticks out even more to me is I know I told Hub, I don't know if I mentioned on the podcast, but I've been reading The Poppy War, and I'm on the final book, and it's like it is very much Chinese. There's a lot of Chinese history written in there, and it's like there's a lot of, right now they're dealing with European expansion and their colonialism, and it's just like reading it, I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is really gross. I'm like just reading their fictionalized perception of it, and like they're like right now they're like they made a town in, well, it's Nikata, which is like, I don't know, I don't want to say fictional China, but it's like, because I'm like, I don't know what people would have called their countries back in the day, but it's like everything's kind of like it's based off of that pretty much. Excuse me. And it's like the way they're talking, I'm like, and the way they're describing it, I was like, oh my goodness. It's like, I know about some of the ways early colonialism and stuff, like just from studying it, and then I also know a lot of people are very quick to point out, like, oh, which in the book they do bring out like the religious aspect of it, of what they do. And like, even me as a Christian, I'm like, no, that I never, even hearing of that when I was young, I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you can share your religion without I can't remember the word, but pretty much forcing at the time. Not converting, but because like converting is just like part of sharing the language, but it's just going into which a lot of, like, at least from what I know, Christian missionaries now, they don't go in and be like, all right, you accept Jesus, now it's time for you to become like America. Which it's like, I don't know, it's written from a European, like at the time point it would have been Europe doing this, and so it's just like that's historically what they did. And it's just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, because a lot of the European nations were like, we just want to keep
it.
Well, I was sending you that because I've heard a lot of people like that book as well by the same author. Just so if you need something else on your TBR. But yeah, I've heard
oh, don't worry, I took a quiz on that book app thing, I forgot what it's called, and I've got a list now. But yeah, I did hear about this. Sorry.
Yeah, but no, like there was a time period in a lot of European history where they were bragging about, what was it? I think the England was the nation that the sun never set because they had territory all across the world. So, what is it called again? Manifest Destiny? Where they wanted to own as much land as they could all across the world. Expansion versus I haven't taken a history class in so long.
That's all good. No, it's 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 always interesting, like kind of reading a lot of these, because fiction like this is always based in some form of truth.
I mean,
And
it's specifically called historical fiction.
yeah, and one of the things that always stuck out to me when I was younger, like growing up, like I think it was like when I was in high school, there was a teacher who said, and it's always stuck with me, it's just like, history is written by the victor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and then ever since then, I'm like, okay, we're only seeing a shade of the historical account. Like,
Yeah, I was in
I
I want to say Swedish American Museum not too long ago, like a couple months ago, and they had this beautiful tapestry, but the tapestry was depicting Native Americans willingly giving a bunch of resources to the Dutch, and I was like, was it this nice? Was it this amicable, or was it? But I forgot who I was with, but they were saying that in comparison to maybe the Spaniards, then yeah, maybe it was this nice in the beginning.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, like just the time we're in now, where a lot of these people, they're just like, okay, that's how Europeans wrote history, but now here's how it translated to us. And it's like, it's interesting hearing the two accounts. I don't know, well, Jesse Cox has a TikTok where I forget who it was. I forget. It's another Twitch streamer. I can't remember her name, but I think she has Pakistani background, because she's going into Pakistani history, and like I think she mentioned like just all this stuff, like she's, I don't know, she's tied to, I don't think she's a scholar. She might be a scholar, but like I think she grew up in like the Pakistani, like had Pakistani parents, or maybe over in that area, and was talking about some of the history. And the TikTok was just like, this is very much on brand if people know Jesse. But he was like, he was sitting there, and I didn't realize he used to be, or was, like, has a degree in being a history teacher. And so he was just sitting there listening, like he was taking it all in. And she finished, and then he's like, that had to be one of the hottest things I've ever heard anyone say to me. You can talk history to me all day long. I'm just going to sit here and take it all in. And it's just like, oh man, if people didn't know who he was, that would sound really bad.
I mean, I was a fan of him from back, and I don't know if there's still a company, Geek and Sundry, which was run by Felicia Day, but I think was acquired and passed around, because Critical Role was under Geek and Sundry before branching off into their own thing. Yeah. But yeah, I remember seeing him a lot through there, and then watching his Let's Plays, and then all that kind of stuff. And then I did get a chance to meet him at PAX East, because I had my eyes on Monster Prom before Monster Prom was released, and Jesse was there promoting it, and he saw me, and I was like, are you Jesse Cox? He's like, yes. Do you want to see my game?
I remember you telling me this story.
Very precious. There are not a lot of content creators that I've met in person, but I think my memory of meeting him would still be pretty much up there. I've also met some of the writers for Monster Prom, and the two writers were fighting with each other, because I was saying which storylines I liked best, and they were like, see, I wrote that one. She likes what I wrote, not what you wrote.
Oh man, sorry, I was like, oh, it's not even out.
No, it's not out yet. I think I've seen a lot of people on TikTok reading that particular book by the same author of Poppy War as like those like early editions to help promote it. But I do believe the author, I was looking on her website, and I think she's going on like a book tour, but the closest place to us is in like New York City, because she's going to specific bookstores.
Yeah. Well, I can't have her sign my phone. I do. It's really interesting, like reading her trilogy. Right now it's a trilogy. I don't know.
I think it's complete.
Yeah, like the way it feels, like I'm only a third through the last book right now that's out, and it feels very much like it's gearing up towards the end. But yeah, it's her. You can tell her as like because she wasn't ever like, she's a history student and like and stuff like that. And I was listening to some, like at the end of the first audiobook, she has like an interview, and like I realized, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a podcast stuff, and it's like nothing against people who like that content, but I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm really glad our podcast is not that. Like, I'm listening to this more because I'm interested in R.F. Kuang, rather than what she is, like, rather than the host. Like, the host I was like finding a little bit on the annoying side. But anyway, I was like, yeah, I couldn't do that. I'm glad. But anyway, the whole everything was just like, I think she was like, yeah, she was looking into, yeah, she was a history student and like was more researching the history and then wanted to write about what she did. And but it's, you can tell like as just as a fictional writer how much like you can, it might just because I'm listening to back to back to back, like just the third book is now like bringing in things that she didn't even do in like the first books, and it's just like, okay, this is like painting this world bigger, which is neat. So
it's pretty interesting. Yeah, I do like, I haven't read a ton. I do enjoy historical fiction. There's I know it's really big in like a lot of like when people recommend books on social media, a lot of people bring up Song of Achilles, and I ended up reading it. And I did really like it. And then on the back, it says that the author herself has like a master's in like Greek studies and translating like a lot of the Greek mythology into English. And then you can tell like the way that it's written that it doesn't feel like they were like, oh, I've heard of Achilles and Patroclus, I'm gonna just do whatever I want. But like her take on it, I started Googling stuff because I was like, is this kind of like her part of the fiction, or is this actually what some historians believe? And then immediately on Wikipedia, people were like, yeah, a lot of people suppose this is what happened because of this kind of context in different mythologies. I was like, oh, it's fun when someone who does a lot of research in the lore can write fun stuff that makes it easy for me to read in the modern day.
Yeah. So far, book review on the popular though, it's good.
I know a lot of people really like it. I just haven't gone to them because they look very big.
Yeah. Like, well, I've been listening to the audiobooks, and I think I brought up, I can't remember the app that we were talking about that you showed me, but
Storygraph.
Yeah, and then I found out that the second book was like 700 pages long, and I was like, oh, I listened to that in 20 hours. The audiobook though, I really like. The person reading it.
Okay.
Emily Zager is the way. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she does a very good job. Like of like, it's not just like I like the people that do the like they get like kind of voice actors, and they're just like, it's like I can now picture all these people's voices, and so good stuff. But I said I had one more story. How far in are we? Okay, good. Hey guys, we will get to Predator, but yeah, Predators. But honestly, I don't think this movie's gonna take up as much time talking about it. But I've been wrong before. But hey, time to date this episode when we're recording. Two things: the final episode of Better Off Ted got released this week. And then TwitchCon tickets got announced, which are super expensive. But anyway, that's not what I was wanted to talk about, because I have a lot of friends like on the West Coast, and I was thinking about going through different stuff. I'm not sure if I can go, but that's a different issue. But I was looking up, I was like, what's the cheapest way I could get out there? And I found tickets round trip that would cost $279. From
Are you
here
a stowaway?
No. Well, I'm more like luggage. But okay. I'll give you a guess. How long do you think the first flight out there will be? I'll say the flight coming back is 8 hours, and it's the flight coming back if I took this round
So
trip.
you're by flight, you're saying including layover?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
from start to finish going out there, and I'll let you know it's over 7 hours, which is the first one, the return trip.
When you said flight back is like 8 hours, I was like, so what? There's flying in circles?
Yeah,
I didn't know you were also including layover.
Yeah, I was well, when I share the first trip, layovers it's part of the experience.
30 hours.
Oh, you were really close.
I figured it had to be an overnight thing.
Yeah, it's 28 hours and 55 minutes.
Oh, wow. I was like an hour off.
Yep. So here what it is. I get into Philly around 5:40 a.m. Take a flight down to Atlanta. Get there around 8. Cool. Then in Atlanta, I have an 11-hour and 30-minute layover. Mm-hmm. To where I'll get on the airplane pretty much close to 12 hours. We're 7 hours and 28 minutes from Atlanta to land in Las Vegas at 9 p.m. To where I will have a 9-hour and 15-minute layover in Las Vegas. Then to get back on a plane at 6:15 a.m. I will land in San Diego at 7:35 a.m. a few hours before the start of TwitchCon.
So at that point, it's not going to be cheaper because you're going to be paying for stays in 2 different states.
No, I'll just sit in the airport.
You'll stay in the airport for 12 hours?
I stayed in the airport for 15 hours.
Well, did you sleep there too?
No, I just walked around.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the difference. Are you comfortable with sleeping in an airport?
I'll find out. But I have friends in Las Vegas and stuff. If I decided to do that, I could probably spend some time with them to like get out of the airport and then come back in and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's the other thing. I got stuff I could work on while doing that. Maybe I'll actually bring my Switch. That's the lie. I'll never touch that thing. Not that I have anything against the Switch. I just think I don't think I don't know. There's not a lot of games on the Switch that I really want to play. Oh, or what I could do is actually play Fire Emblem.
Mooch the people.
No, I'm just like it. I don't get stressed very often, but Fire Emblem is one of those games where I will stress out because like no one can die.
You can
and
play
I know,
it on casual.
I know everyone does that, but here's the other thing, because I remember Tristan was telling me this, and then I was like, but my brain literally won't let me. And he's like, boy? And I was like, I can't. I don't know why, but it's just like in my brain, it's like, it doesn't translate to this in doing Dark Souls, but it's just like, my brain is just like, no, that's cheating. I can't do that. But it's
Is it because it's permadeath?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. And it's like, because it's permadeath, I'm like, well, I gotta restart. It's like, no one can die. But like, that's how you progress sometimes, is by letting people die. And it's just like, I'm like, no, I want to be the best strategist ever. No one will die. And what really cracks me up looking back at it now is that I never changed my strategy. I would just do the same things, and I'm like, why is this person dying? So, I want to play Fire Emblem so bad, but I'm like, I can't deal with in my head with like, they died. I am a failure.
Just save scum. It's fine. It's not cheating. There's autosaves built in.
There is now? Like, while you're fighting?
I think pre-battle and post-battle. So if you finish the battle and you want to go back and like bring someone back to life, then no luck. But they let you save between like battle turns and stuff. I know people will do that for like, they also have a system in there for being able to rewind so many times in a battle. I think depending on the difficulty, you can rewind infinitely, or you can rewind like 5 times or like 3 times, like that kind of thing.
All right. Yeah, my Fire Emblem experience is like the first one that came to America on the Game Boy Advanced, where it's just like no, you gotta do this thing. And I'm like, I don't want to. It's like, no, you're gonna bleed. I'm like, no. But the other thing is, I just remembered, mainly because I thought it was the funniest thing in the world at me being, I think, in high school. Like, they did the whole Professor Oak, are you a male or female? Or are you a boy or a girl? And I'm like, I'm a girl. And they're like, what's your name? Steve. And I don't know why, but it was just, it was the thing that cracked me up the most as a teenager, to be like, oh, here's our strategist. Her name is Steve. And I'm like, funny. So, yeah. Welcome to
If you
Humor of
didn't
Deeping.
continue the story, I was gonna say the line you said about making you bleed. I was like, transition into Predators, the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that was like the one thing they did miss in this remix of one.
Yeah, essentially. Anyway, so hello, welcome. If you clicked on here to listen to us talk about Predators,
It's
sorry
time!
we took 21 minutes to get there. Hello. I guess now we can roll our dice to see who goes over the movie arcs, question mark. I had like 6 written down. We'll see.
You had 6 dice rolls written down?
No, I have 6 arcs for the movie written down because they kept changing pace.
I gave up trying to do that. I was more focused on, I'm a tough guy and you're going to listen to me. Now follow me.
Yeah, I hate the character type. Anyway, roll
My
your dice.
voice does not sound natural.
I'm Batman.
I rolled an 8.
I rolled a 20, so I got stuck with this.
Goodness.
All right. So this is what I wrote down for movie arcs. So we open up with a premise that a bunch of people find themselves in the middle of a jungle and everyone's disoriented, confused, and of different walks of life. And then we get introduced to the many characters and get introduced into finding out that they are not on Earth anymore. Mm-hmm. That's the first arc, because there's a lot of the whole, who are you? Fight, fight, fight. Who are you? Fight, fight, fight. Who are you?
Yeah.
Brooding, emo.
Inappropriate.
The inappropriate didn't really happen until much later.
Yep.
He was like mildly inappropriate, and I was like,
no, I wanted him to die as soon as I saw him.
because he was fighting the guy?
No, I just didn't like him.
Oh, isn't he he's in another show, isn't he?
I don't know.
He's in one of those like, oh, I can't remember. Maybe it's called Longmire or something, where it's like cops, but not good cops.
Oh, I don't know.
Let me double check, because it's gonna bother me, because like I recognized him and I knew, like I know I've seen him for TV adverts.
I only recognized 2 people in this movie, and they got killed very quick because I figured that was where most of the
Justified. The guy in the orange jumpsuit is from Justified.
Okay, I heard about it, never watched it.
He's also in Hateful Eight.
Never watched that either.
Oh, I liked Hateful Eight, and then Sons of Anarchy as well. Anyway,
okay.
I
I watched some of that.
I figured if I kept throwing the dart, I would hit something.
And it was one of those things when I lived in New York, one of my roommates watched it, and then it was like, every time I came up, it was like, that's a naked girl.
All right, and then my second arc was like...
Left turn!
Yes, before we started this, I said, we'll get to it. Anyway, so I said this is them being hunted in terms of the predators assessing their abilities and what they have to offer and what the different types of people were like. Okay, then the next arc I put, they gain allies, question mark. Because that was a very long time when they were setting that whole thing up.
Yeah.
And then the next arc I put was Predator time.
It's
Just
Predator time.
Just one Predator time. Mm-hmm. Right? Because they're on the ship from their quote-unquote ally. And then it's that, like, one Predator looking for them. And then after that, I put Predator v. Predator time. Mm-hmm. Because Adrian Brody was like, you gotta do me a favor. and then my final arc is main character versus Predator time.
That one was called Red Herring, the movie.
So do you agree with those as being the arcs?
Yeah, I did not keep up with the parts and the arcs in this one, because I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, they were throwing a lot at us, and D-Payne made the joke about taking a left turn. In like the last 45 minutes maybe of the movie, I thought to myself, if they keep throwing left turns at me, I'm gonna get dizzy. And they went oh, here's 5 more. And I went, I'm going to puke. This is
They took so many left turns that they had to come back to the start.
So
visual joke. What am I stuck on?
Cords probably. My cord management is awful. So if I spin around, I'm probably going to get tangled in an Ethernet cord.
Wait, you did get a new chair.
I've had this chair.
Did you?
For a couple weeks. I got this on Prime Day. We've recorded several episodes.
I just noticed.
I thought I told you, like, look, I don't have a plastic chair anymore.
I don't think so. Maybe you did. I don't know.
I'm sure you could go back and go, oh, at least it's got to be at least 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, I probably made a mention of it, and then now in my head, because I can't spin around, it's like, you can't spin around in a plastic chair. Wait a second.
That chair has a back to it. It's ergonomic.
Hopefully your mesh thing, well, you're a lot smaller than me, so it will probably last longer.
Yeah, so, okay, so those are the arcs of the movie. So if I describe the general synopsis, so yes, you're introduced. People should have died in the very beginning. Not many did, because they get parachuted and land very hard onto the surface of this jungle. I thought his back was broken when he made that noise when he hit the ground, but...
It would have made the movie way more interesting.
Yes. So then you find out there's like, what, is it like 8 characters that end up coming together and meeting up? Because you have Adrian Brody's character, who's like super like, I'm so serious. And then you have the female character. Then you have Danny Trejo. You have the guy you wanted to die. You have Topher Grace, the guy from That 70s Show, who's like, I'm a doctor. You have the guy that the prisoner guy was fighting with. And then you have the Yakuza guy.
Oh my goodness. I felt bad for the Yakuza guy.
They
okay.
didn't do him justice.
I'm going to hold off because it's a complaint I have a lot about. I've noticed in watching a lot of these action-oriented movies. I'm like, whenever they bring in anyone of Asian descent, it's the same character.
It's a very heavy trope.
I will hold off until we get to them.
Yes. So then you have them. They're all fighting with each other. They don't know why they're there. They walk through the jungle a bunch and find out, wow, there's a bunch of moons and suns and planets. We're not on Earth anymore. Blah blah blah.
I did like that sky shot though.
The sky shot was pretty, but they also did the heavy-handed thing of like, look, nothing points to north, and you know what? The sun's never set. And I'm like, oh my God, just let us find out. Just let us realize it on our own.
Look, that's where they called in Predator 2. They had to spell everything out because movies don't think the viewer is intelligent anymore.
Yeah, they have to hold our hand and drag us through and figure out what's going on.
That's why I like Arrival and Ex Machina.
So then being hunted... so then while they're all arguing with each other about where they are, what they got to do, how to get everywhere... Oh, there's also the Russian guy. So there's 8 people.
Oh, yeah.
Russian guy was nice.
I like that. He was, I think, as the internet would call people, cinnamon roll. I don't know if that's the right term. I will have to share a note that I wrote about the dude, and then, well, yes, about the Russian man, and then, I didn't realize that makes sense. Sorry, I'm like reading through the wiki. Guys, in this movie, they just didn't. I don't think they gave anyone names.
The 2 main characters introduce themselves, quote unquote main characters, introduce themselves to each other in the last like 5 minutes.
I didn't even
The Russian guy introduces himself in the very beginning.
Yeah. Nikolai. Yeah.
And then, he's like, I'm Nikolai, and then the main character's like, okay, bye. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like all these people like. I didn't realize, like, I'm looking at the wiki right now as the characters. I'm like, wait a second, they had names? I thought it was Tough Man,
4,
Doctor Man. I didn't even realize it was like Sniper Girl. I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense because in all the Predator movies, except, well, we only watched 3 now, but in like 2 is like the only one where we kind of like have someone yelling a name. Constantly. All the time. And in the first one is just like I didn't even realize any of their names until after and I was reading the wiki.
Yeah, I mean they don't Well, they kind of formally introduce them on the plane a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they also, in the dialogue, they refer to each other by name.
I didn't even realize Morpheus had a name.
I was just sitting there. I was like, "What's Lawrence Fishburne doing on this
Yes.
planet?" Every time that famous actor came up, I was like, "What is he doing here?" Like Topher Grace, I was like, "What is he doing?"
But yeah, I didn't realize that Royce was the name of the main character. I also didn't realize that Isabel, Alicia Braga, who's the only female girl, the only female girl, the only girl, woman. There we go. Yep. I'm like, where's the words? Where's the heart? I woke up like an hour ago, actually 2 hours ago. But anyway, I didn't realize that she was supposed to be from the Israeli Defense Forces. I don't know if that was mentioned, or they're just like.
So there is like one scene where the main guy, Adrian Brody's character, I don't know his name, Adrian Brody. As soon as Adrian Brody showed up on the screen, I was like, he's the Arnold equivalent. He looks at her and names off what everyone's force is and what they're like.
Oh yeah, I do remember
as.
that. What the heck is even supposed to be? Sorry.
Well, she does the whole thing. She's like, "You must be Black Ops because blah blah blah." He's like, "No, this is my actual backstory." And I was like, "Why are you telling me your backstory? This is like D&D when characters are like, 'Hi, my name is Barbarian. My parents died.'" I'm like, "No, no one talks like that."
I do.
You do.
Yeah. I want everyone to know.
You just like to do it when you're like, "Hey guys, I played Animal Crossing and my mom sent me something," and everyone goes, "Your mom sent you something?" You're like, "In the video game." Everyone's like, "Oh right."
Yeah, I like making big jokes, and I'm the only one allowed to make those jokes. There was someone that was making jokes for a while, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, you gotta chill."
Yeah, this is my family trauma.
Look, I'm making up for lost time. Everyone else had theirs when they were kids. All mine's happening now in my 30s. Any poop.
So then after they all kind of have a bunch of infighting and don't know who to trust, then they find themselves getting hunted by what I thought was really cool was them introducing new monsters into the lore. They're basically like dogs, but make them predator. And then they're clearly being watched, yada, yada, blah. They're trying to figure out how it all works. And then they try to set up traps for them. Oh, and then they also do the scene-for-scene cut of the traps from the first movie. But they're all set up by a guy who's already dead and doesn't matter, who should be in Iraq, I think they said, or Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the traps in this movie. There was like a few times where they had different traps set up by predators. And I'm like, this is pretty neat. Like,
yeah, the predator traps were neat, but the human traps were all very much just the first movie all over again because they had the log swinging and all that stuff. Yeah. And then so then they set up a trap with Danny Trejo. They used the voice mimicry, which was really cool. And then Adrian Brody's like, "It's obvious, it's a trap." I'm like, I wanted someone to go fall for the trap so we could see something cool, but then they said no cool scenes for the viewer.
Well, they throw something in there, don't they? I thought they threw like a log or something in there and then just saw.
No, but like instead of everyone was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go help him," Adrian Brody goes, "No, don't do it. It's a trap." Yeah. And then the girl's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a good person," and then just puts him out of his misery.
Yeah, and then like right after that, it keeps talking.
Yes, because the predators are just testing.
But it's like, oh no, like that whole point is just like, man, I think that if it wasn't so bright out would have been even really creepy.
Yeah, if they had done it, well, they said the sun never sets. So.
Yeah, and then the sun sets. But anyway.
And then they stumble upon a camp of predator stuff where they find a predator tied up. I guess he's like the loser predator who's just like tied up, and they're all like, "Haha, you're stupid. We all like to point at you. Look at all these other dead bodies.
You can't have it. Ooh.
No trophies for you.
Don't worry, you don't really matter in the long scheme of things. Woo."
So then and then
that's when
it was so boring that I can't even remember what happens between that and then we're running into Lawrence Fishburne.
Okay, so between those two parts is when we meet the rest of the predators. Like it reveals that there's three.
Yeah.
There's three, and then it does a retelling of Arnold falling down the waterfall, but this time it's the whole team.
It's everybody.
Yeah, and all their equipment's fine. Don't worry about it.
Guns are good to go.
And then and that's when like they're all like kind of making their way through the woods, and then there's another like ent. It's like a baby tree ent like running around, and sniper lady goes to shoot, and she's like, I missed. And then that's when predator when Lauren,
oh, he shows up behind them.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, yes, I have their stuff.
And he uses the invisibility and everything too. I had to rewind. I was like, did he use invisibility or did he just sneak up on them? And I rewound and I was like, oh, he can use their technology. Okay.
Yeah, like, oh man, it was. I wish his character, like, I kind of wish other characters died off more, and there was like this. Like, I understand why. At this point,
only 2 characters died out of the 8 that we started with.
Yes. Yeah. And but it was one of those things. Watching it, I'm like, man, this there's like so much stuff that like if Lawrence Fishburne's character wasn't nuts. Like,
yes, that's the next arc.
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness, it would have been so cool because like this point, this is the first time in the series a human has used Predator technology.
Yeah. So then what ends up happening is, so you find out he can use the technology.
That's not true. Danny Glover uses the death
well, he kind of just wields it, but he doesn't really like, know how to use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then Lawrence Fishburne's character brings them all onto the ship, and he has them crawling through these like really tight tunnels on some abandoned ship that I don't know why it's on that planet at all and who it belonged to. But so he drags them all on, and they all like, he's like, you have a place to stay and yada blah. But as they talk to him, they find out that he's been there for quote unquote 10 seasons and is very mentally unstable. And by
the end of the movie, it makes you wonder how long those seasons actually are.
Yeah. So then he's kind of talking to himself, splitting personalities, and like keeps like swapping a lot. So he introduces yes, he introduces himself as being a very friendly, like, I'm here for you guys. I don't want to be lonely anymore. And then everyone settles in and they go, all right, I'm going to take a nap. And then he swaps and he's like, there's so many mouths to feed. You can't protect all these people. We're going to light the place on fire and suffocate them by removing all the oxygen on the ship. And I was like, okay, Lawrence Fishburne.
Matrix was real tough for you, wasn't it?
So then, but in the middle of that happening, then a predator, just one of the 3, decides to come up on the ship and is like, I'm going to start clunking around as they're trying to escape.
Well, that's because Tough Man McGee shoots like the wall, and everyone's
he shoots the wall to show the heat signature.
Yeah, like a little mini explosion happens.
But I was just confused why only one of the 3 went up there.
I just assumed that was the only one in close proximity.
Yeah, he was kind of just underneath the ship and was like, "What's that noise?"
Yeah, it was just like, it felt very much like a Star Wars movie where they're just like, the stormtroopers are like, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but oh, I think they're up there.
It was very convenient timing all around. But yeah, so then they fight off the singular predator. I think... Oh, this is when Nikolai dies?
Yes.
So do you want to do your little spiel about our cinnamon roll?
I figure we're going to go... Oh, the brain just went in there. I forgot what I was about to say.
I was going to say, with the time that we have left, we can just dive into the different parts as we get to the parts of the movie.
Oh, okay. Well, I had stuff back at the start.
Oh, you do? Okay, go ahead.
I thought we were doing an overview and then going back through.
I was kind of sprinkling in my thoughts in between things because, like, I didn't have that many thoughts on this movie.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. Let me rewind a little bit, because like the way I take notes is just something happens and then I just write a note and just like, so at the very early beginning of the movie, I was like, are they wearing Predator tech as they are going down?
With the parachutes.
And it reveals that yes, they are. Which I thought that was interesting. And then Danny Trejo, when he shows up, I wrote, wait, Machete's here? And okay, so one of the things I did really like in the beginning is like, even though infighting, these guys, like, they are elites of their own thing, and they're all using their own expertise to show their own training, even though Adrian Brody or whatever his name is like, I know everything and I'm tough. Oh my goodness, his IMDb page just like he looks like he's doing the face that the guy from Tangled does, the Schmolder.
Oh, the okay, yeah.
It's just like, but all I can think is I don't even know what he actually sounds like. I don't know what other movies this guy's in. But,
he's in a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you go through the IMDb, you'll recognize at least.
I'm just clicking and. Oh, Grand Budapest Hotel. Never watched it, but I heard of it. Anyway, but yeah, it's he just shows up and he's just like, hey, I'm a tough guy, so you gotta listen to me. And like a lot of this team, like their equipment, what they can do is like a 1v1 match for the P1 team.
Yes.
For the most part. And the other thing I wrote is like these people actually seem intelligent. Like
I thought they were dense, personally.
Well, like intelligent of their like it seemed like they were using their
what they know.
Yes, that like
Okay.
for their training and what they all claim to be and do. It's like yeah, I can understand like I could agree like they were dense where they're just like no, we don't want to work together. I'm not trusting you, which I could totally understand not wanting to trust
I meant
other.
dense as in like it felt like some of the characters were like, what is happening? And the Adrian Brody or the female character were like, well, you see, when this happens, it means that he's hunting us because he blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, some of them, but it felt like the ones that were definitely meant to be the main characters, like they were able to piece things together and like pretty quickly, like
I just think it was unfortunate. Yeah, like they made them intelligent to the point where it felt like we were just supposed to be dumb.
Yeah. The other side, when did this movie come out?
2010.
2010. It's been what 20 years since the last because 1990 is when
Predator
2 came out. So 20 years, and it's like I don't know how many people are watching that. Like I don't know. I think we're in a unique situation where we're watching the whole series back to back, pretty much. But yeah. So. Oh, and here's the other thing that I thought was funny when the alien dogs came up is that Adrian Brody's character has the world's biggest knife and then just cuts off a Predadog's head.
Yeah.
No problem. I'm like, what? Do they have bones?
His plot armor is very strong.
Oh, yes. It lasts the whole movie. Spoilers. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. Just to catch up where we were, the P1 waterfall escape. Oh, and then we were saying Danny Trejo, like when they're doing the trap, and it was like, oh, ran out of Danny Trejo funds because he dies very early.
Yeah, but you're like, oh, I haven't even seen the Predator specifically yet. Oh, he's dead.
Mm-hmm. And then I just called him Tough Main Man because I couldn't remember his name and I didn't know who it was. And I was like, this dude knows way too much from just straight observation.
Yeah.
It's just like, did he have the script?
It would have been more interesting instead of having Lauren Fishburne like do the weird traitor thing if actually Adrian Brody's character was low-key a traitor. Mm-hmm. That would have been fun. But we can talk on traitors later. Yeah. Because it's still relevant, unfortunately. Mm-hmm.
And then I wrote and then they get to the P1, like as you were saying, P1 synopsis, and then don't look at P2, please, because there's in this movie there's no mention of it, right?
There's no mention of it.
Yeah,
not
it's
that
like
I recall.
Don't look, please don't look.
just the that there are multiples. That's the only thing I can think connects. Also, I have a note very early on that I forgot to mention. I got kind of tired of the really obvious foreshadowing. Like it felt like a new director. Because I could be mistaken or it could have just been edited poorly, but so you meet the one doctor character and Nikolai is like, what is this pretty plant? Like they wrote him to be really dumb, unfortunately, and then the doctor goes, well, you see, if you touch it you'll get paralyzed, and then they zoomed in on his knife touching the plant, and I was like,
that's
all right, when is that gonna come back?
I was like, in my head I'm like, well, I don't like this character. And then I was like, I don't like this character, but I was like, he hasn't done anything super terrible. Maybe it's just a red herring. To where I wrote, you know what? Kind of like the doctor and the Russians' relationship. it's kind of nice. And then it was just like, I think immediately after I wrote that, I was like, okay, yep, everything that I was expecting happened.
Yeah.
But,
So then you have the whole fight on the ship, and like on the ship with the Russian guy, as you're mentioning, like the doctor seems to have a cute moment where he's like, "Oh, let me see the picture of your kids and stuff," which comes up later.
mm-hmm.
So then there's Predator time. Russian guy dies.
Yeah.
Is there anything?
The only thing I also wrote is when Lawrence Fishburne showed up, I was like, Morpheus, Matrix sequel.
So then after the one Predator is on the ship with them, and then Nikolai somehow has grenades on him so big that it blows up the entire ship.
Well, they found, like, it was pretty much a boss fountain in that room, because like that's where
he finds the bombs. Okay,
that's where they get the bombs. That's where they wait a second. I didn't realize that the Yakuza man's name was Hanzo.
They just picked the most generic.
I was like, oh man, is his last name like, oh, now I'm forgetting what they named I'm forgetting. There's like tons of Hans. But anyway, and just like, but that's where he finds the samurai sword, just sitting in there.
Oh yeah, he goes, "Oh, this is old,
but good."
And then the doctor's like, "Is it the doctor?" He's like, "You speak English?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't have anything to say to any of you." And I was like, "I like you. You're gonna die."
Yeah, it was either him or Adrian. It's like I couldn't remember at that point. Okay, yeah, I think. Oh no, hold on. We'll get to his character arc in a second, because I'm just like, yeah. But yeah, that's where he gets the sword. Yeah, and that's when it's just like
a bunch of 1v1s after that.
Yeah, it's trying to think if there's anything else in the ship that was kind of important. Like the thing that I did think was slightly interesting, where it's like, man, if Lawrence Fishburne's character wasn't Gollum, and it would have been like, I think it, like that whole concept of this guy is like, I've been outsmarting these guys for like
ever,
for a while, which is like a feat in its own. Like, it definitely, like, he failed sanity checks like out the wazoo, and it showed. But it's, I don't know, I just think it's interesting where he's like, no man, you just gotta hide out and just like make them not even know that you're there. And so I thought that was interesting. I'm trying to remember everything, because he drops like a lot of stuff like in his crazy rants, and then he's just like, I'm going to bed now, bye.
Yeah, goodbye everybody.
Yeah, and so,
and then locks the door behind him. I did think it was funny how he was overacting to say that door was heavy, and I was like, that's a cardboard door. And they put the really loud sound effect of like the thunk, and I was like, he's carrying that like it's a cardboard door.
It's very much like, it's one of my favorite like TikTok things where fitness people go and debunk other fitness people. They're just like, oh, I forget who it is, but it's like, there's this dude, I think he was like a football player or something like that, but he's looking at this video and he's like, wait a second, that guy is smaller than me and picking up 90-pound weights like it's nothing. Hold on a sec. And he goes over, it's like, here's a 90-pound dumbbell, or freeway, whatever they're called, and he's just like, and you can see he's just like straining.
Oh my goodness.
Like, and he's like, this guy's smaller than me. He's like, I'll do his workout. He picked that thing up like it was 50 pounds.
It's funny. So let's see. They fight the one off of the ship, and then they're running off of the ship, and then they start getting picked off, right? By the other predators.
Yes. Yeah, they get off the ship. Yeah, Nikolai kind of gives his own
kaboom.
Yeah. Which, oh my goodness. Like, was there methane? Was that a Fallout level where there's gas in the air?
It was such a big explosion. It even went out, like, exterior to the ship a little bit. Because they all fell down into, like, a watery cave system or whatever underneath. Yeah,
and then Orange Man, I felt like, hold on, is this one Orange? Yeah, because Orange Man dies before is the next one to die.
I think Orange Man dies, and then it's Yakuza's guy, and then you're left with the final three. Yeah,
so I did, the other thing I wrote in, when they're in the ship, is just like, I'm glad that everybody on this ship feels the same way I do about Orange Man. And they're all like sharing family things, like, oh, who is that, your girlfriend? No, that's my sister. And I'm like, Die, man.
Yeah, he had a tattoo on his stomach of a nude lady, and he was playing with her boobs on his stomach. And then he also had another dialogue moment where he said he was gonna purposely do a lot of drugs and sexually assault women.
Yeah, it's just like, okay.
He didn't say it like that. He said it in much worse words.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, and everyone's just like, oh, okay, yeah, hookers or whatever. Well,
no, he didn't say hookers even.
Yeah,
it wasn't consensual at any point.
After I said that, I was like, that's not what he said. But
it was not funny.
The first time he said it, I was like half listening. I'm like, wait a second, did I just hear what I thought I heard? And then they repeat it like 3 times, and I'm like,
please stop saying it.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, in my head, I was like, this is like 10 years ago. It's not even that long ago in the perspective of things.
I'm like, hey, writers in Hollywood, women have feelings too, you know. Like you can chill out.
Like, yeah, you could have delivered the same message in a less gross way by just saying like you said, like, oh, I'm gonna go get a bunch of hookers, and everyone would have been like, all right, buddy.
Yeah.
But they took it to a different extreme. Anyway, so yes. So he finally gets to die, but then he doesn't really die right away. He tries to do the whole fight back thing. It's very whatever.
Yeah. Well, like when I watched it, I was like, are they trying to make us feel bad for him? Like,
I know. Like,
and it's just like, there's like, oh man, he's finally like showing. It's like he's having character growth at the last second. And I'm like, no. Like, just kill the... I sent it to you. I was like, Orange Man should have had a Jurassic Park death scene as that one woman who didn't deserve it. That's what I wanted.
But yeah, but he does kind of injure that Predator, and that Predator is the one that fights off against the Yakuza guy. And then they do the very generic samurai standoff.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I was like, okay. It's like, wow. He's literally being Billy from P1. I'm like, is he going to cut his chest with a katana? And then it's just like, oh yeah, and I think there's when I put in parentheses, Predator honorable fight. I don't understand a Predator honorable fight. It's like your whole thing is hunting them, and then it's like, wait, these guys want to go 1v1 with knives? Okay.
I think it's because they want to, depending on which part of the lore that they want to hold on to, I think they want to hold on to the part of the lore where he's like, they take him saying like he only hunts other hunters, and then they extrapolate it to be like, they want to be the best hunter in that thing's version of hunting.
They are the one-upper.
Yeah, they want to one-up people. They're like, oh, you have a dead parent? I have 2 dead parents.
I have 4. Wait, what?
I have 4 parents. Alien things. But yeah, so they have the whole standoff. Yay, Yakuza guy wins and loses at the same time. Like every samurai standoff that you've ever seen in media.
It's like, oh man, he can talk, and now he gone. I'm like, oh man, like I knew he wasn't gonna last long, but I was just like,
they literally gave him like a minute of a cool scene, and then he was dead.
Yeah, it's like even like when he shows up in like the beginning of the movie, it's just like it felt like the guy watched Lost, and then he's just like, he's in a full suit, and then he gets mad that his shoes get dirty, so then he takes off his shoes and socks and just squishes his toes in the mud, and I was like, what am I supposed to gain from this? Yeah, and then there's never any other focus on his. It's like looking at it, it's like, man, he's got tough feet. He ran around on like metal shards, like all these
through
things.
all the trees and all that. Yeah. So then you have Adrian Brody run back to the camp and was just like, I'm gonna make a deal with you. Yeah. You get me your ship and get me out of here. And I'll let you go. But you gotta fight the other guy for me. And I was just like, they don't speak the same language. And then he doesn't even give it any time to see if he understands him. He just cuts it down. And it all works out.
Yeah. It's just, look, when you have plot armor, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, so then he cuts him off, and then the loser predator does what he does best, then he loses.
All right, so here's a question I had later.
Okay.
While watching this. Like, because this predator, like, from the very beginning, like, you see with that, like, it doesn't hide, like, there you go. It shows his full face and everything. And then later he gets his armor, where it's just, like, it's definitely new tech versus old tech in this. But there was something I was just wondering while watching this movie is, like, do predators kiss?
I don't think they can. They can't close their mouth.
What if they put their mandibles like on each other, like a little mandible hug, and then they? It's like
That's how they kiss.
Yeah,
I don't think they have tongues.
I don't
So
know.
like, what would they even like? Even if they hooked mandibles, what would they interact with?
Teeth.
Just, do they have more teeth?
I
Are
don't
they
know.
like the alien? They have more teeth.
It's like it's one of those things, like I don't want to know, but this part of me is just like,
if
how?
you want something interesting, I have heard in some non-Western nations they don't kiss, like humans. Like
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, there's predators and other non.
no, but like depending on, I've heard some villages that are still pretty rural and all that, and haven't had the influence of like the Western society.
Kansas.
Yes, Kansas. That they don't kiss.
I'm just joking, Kansas. I don't.
So like I predators don't seem to be ones to procreate out of love.
Yeah, it was. So this was the joke that was going on in my head while the predators were fighting. He's like, fight, fight, fight. Now you kiss.
Kiss.
I was like, now you kiss. I'm like, I don't know. It was late.
I was getting annoyed that I thought they were going to do the fight, 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 kiss, kiss for the two main characters.
Yeah. It felt like they were going that way. It's just like, I'm going to stroke your hair out of your face now. And it's like, okay, whatever. You get in the dirt. I got to do something.
Anyway, so then during the Predator v Predator fight, they want you to believe Adrian Brody has gotten on the spaceship to run away. So then the doctor is like, it's just me and you, girl, and you were dumb enough to try and save my life. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to finally reveal I'm a murderer.
Yeah. It's like, oh no.
And then he has the whole monologue like, I'm a sick freak. I belong on this planet. I love killing people. And you're stuck with me in a pit. Don't worry, you're just paralyzed. Why didn't he kill her?
Yeah.
Why didn't he kill her?
Plot
if
armor.
he's so obsessed. And she's there gasping for breath because he's hit, the knife comes back and he paralyzes her. And then Adrian Brody comes over the pit and he's like, I didn't leave.
Yep.
And the doctor's like, oh no, I'm such a wimpy baby.
Well, no, then he's just like, because before that he's like, that was my whole plan. And I was like, yeah, that was.
It was
I
pretty
thought,
obvious.
Yeah, there was one time when I was just like, maybe they're not he's not going to betray everybody, which is when he was like hanging out with the Russian, and then it was like immediately he betrays the Russian like as soon as he gets free.
Oh yeah, because he uses the Russians' kids' photos to be like, I have a family.
Yeah, but no, like
me.
even so.
On the ship.
Yeah, because they get split off, and then he's like facing the predator like in the ship.
And the doctor only has those like
Flares.
emergency beacon flares. Yeah.
Yeah, which that you know what? Going against Predator lore, he shouldn't have been attacked because he didn't have a gun. He didn't
have any weapons.
He didn't have any weapons. To be fair, half of that party should not have been attacked.
The whole party attacked the Predators first. So then the Predators were like, all right, if you're going to like bite my leg, I'm going to stomp your face in. What do you want me to do?
Well, not like, because the Orange Man for the longest time, like he just magically pulls a nut, like a shank out of his pocket.
He has like a shiv, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a second, because he's like, dude, give me a gun, give me a gun, give me a gun. And everyone's like, no,
we don't trust you with a gun.
Yeah,
because he was literally fist fighting the guy he goes to ask a gun from.
Yeah, for no reason. but yeah, and so like no one gives him a gun. I'm like, oh no, he's gonna stay alive longer. and but then it's just like at that point, because like he's just running along because in P1 he's running away as like during the whole thing as he's going through there with like in P1 like the girl never holds a gun or like she holds a gun but never actually shoots.
Arnold kicks it out of her hand before she even gets a chance to like use it.
Yeah, and so there's that, and then there's that going on, and then but it's just like okay, like the Japanese Yakuza man, like he was like he had
like, the sword.
Yeah, he had the sword, and like he kind of challenges them, which sorry, I had this just show up because Arnold showed up on my timeline. I'm just gonna send this to you because that's Audacity. Yeah, so like he kind of challenges him, so that makes sense to that fight. But the doctor and the other dude, like it doesn't make sense. Like the doctor and the Yakuza, like they get not the Yakuza, sorry, Orange Man. It just didn't make sense because it's like they didn't have guns and they were kind of just trying to escape. But anyway.
Who cares about lore when you can have crazy action scenes? Also, I did enjoy that Arnold Twitter clip.
Well, who needs lore when you can have almost romance?
Yeah, I wrote that I hated the final fight scene, but I don't remember it. I watched this like 3 days ago. The one that's Adrian Brody versus the Predator.
Oh yeah, well he was like so there were a few things I did like in that fight.
Okay.
So old versus Predator. Yeah, I rolled old Predator versus new, which was, I don't know, that was interesting because it's just like, okay, cool, watch these two Predators fight, and that goes directly tied with what Lawrence Fishburne says is like, when they lose, they go and learn. Mm-hmm. And then they come back next season even stronger and all that stuff. And so it was very much like Predator 2.0 and versus like Predator 1.0, and it's because like that the one that gets owned definitely has like the original Predator armor,
right?
But I did like how they did a little bit of a callback of pretty much how to work against the thermals, and like because they do like they find that out, like they share that multiple times of like, yeah, apparently they lost scent vision, because that's all I was thinking of in that final fight, where it's just like, okay, you ruined his thermals, which I thought that was interesting, where it wasn't just putting clay on him, which he did do. He like in the middle of that fight, he's like, I'm taking my shirt off and rub some clay. This is for the ladies.
I really don't remember any of this. Maybe I fell asleep at the end of the movie.
Yeah, so like he's running around and that, but like what he also does is that he sets off explosives, and that is what actually messes with his thermals more, because everything's hot.
Yes.
And so that's like, and then it was very much like an anime scene, because he's like, the Predator can't see, and then Adrian Brody's just like doing an anime finisher move as he like just dashes across the screen like 30 times, just punching him and all this stuff, and like doesn't really do any damage. And then like he's like, I'm tired now, and then he goes and hides behind a tree to where new Predator, which I think this was more interesting than scent sight, because like it shows him cycling through, and then he one of his visions is seeing audio waves.
Right. Yeah.
And that's when he finds Adrian's heartbeat, and then he starts going after that way and kicking the crap out of Adrian. And then I think
she snipes him, right?
Yeah, I think like he distracts him enough to where she snipes him.
And they hinted at that a lot in the movie, because she kept missing her shots or whatever with her sniper. And like, oh, it finally came through. She's not paralyzed for the last second. And then they go, my name is what? But and then anything else you want to fill in before we reveal the end of the movie?
Trying to think. No.
And then the movie ends with a dramatic walkaway and people falling from the sky to start the next season. It never ends, just like Lawrence Fishburne already told us at like halfway point in the movie.
So
yeah, this was a very average movie.
Yeah, I think I gave it like a 6. Mainly because I think I just came off of Predator 2.
I give Predator 1 a 6. I give Predator 2 a -10 if I could. And Predators, I'd give like a 3 or 4.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I know I don't know. I was also tired. But I did enjoy this movie. Like, even though, like, as I can't remember if I said this on or off mic, but this one definitely feels like, put aside like the Orange's character, like it. Thankfully, it's such like a minor part of this movie, and like
it's not problematic.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like it's just like that really didn't need to be put in the movie. Like this guy's character like description can't be, I'm a terrible person. Like we already know he's in jail. But it's like that could have been his whole thing. It's like, why is he in jail? But anyway,
Yeah, they could have given him a redeeming thing, like, oh yeah, I went to jail for this, but I wanted to make parole, and now I'm stuck here. Like, they could have done a lot of
or like,
interesting
no,
stuff.
they didn't even have to redeem him. He could have just been like, yeah, I murdered a bunch of people, and I'm not sorry.
And this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the reason why I give this movie such a low rating is because it felt to me like they just wanted to remake scenes from Predator 1, and then they
Yeah.
were like, we don't know how to connect these scenes without rewriting Predator 1, so we're just going to keep throwing in plot twists, and people will think it's exciting and new. And I was like, it's not.
Yeah. Like, as I'm thinking now, because I know I definitely gave that score, like, after I watched it, and it was like, I was still thinking of Predator 2, and was like, it only got worse, and I'm like, oh,
This is fine.
okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So
Like, I did think it had really cool monster effects. I did think it had some interesting practical effects. CGI was, like, at some points overused. Like, they were like, look, it's a drone CGI'd for, like, 2 minutes. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's I'm of the firm belief, and so the other thing, guys, originally we weren't going to watch Prey because we didn't know Prey was a thing, but that's getting added.
I mean, it got
into
announced out of, like, nowhere.
Yeah. So Hop has watched it. I haven't watched it, and I'm telling everyone, don't give me spoilers because it's the like closest thing to a new movie that I'm going to watch. So
I mean, our rule for no spoilers is, what, 10 years?
I can't remember. We change it whenever we needed to.
Whenever it's convenient.
Yeah. So, but yeah, oh man, that means we're gonna have to actually put a spoiler tag at the beginning of the
Of that one, yeah.
yeah, because I don't know.
I guess should we for The Predator? Because that's from 2018.
To be fair, I don't know anyone that's talking about the last two Predator movies. But yeah, I guess we can. We should just start saying that for everything that we're talking about. It's like, hey, we're going into big spoiler town. But I don't remember why I brought up Prey. But yeah, in Predators, it honestly felt like a mediocre anime.
That's what you felt about this one? Okay.
Yeah. It's like, this is also coming from someone that doesn't watch anime all that often.
I mean, you read manga.
Yeah.
A lot of it's one for one from panels, to be honest.
Yeah, but it felt like one of those animes where it's just like seeing things will happen because they need to happen, not so much that they make sense.
Yeah, this movie is very coincidental.
Yeah, like, but the things I did like, I did think it was interesting. Now I remember what I was about to say, but like, I think the Predator makes sense in a jungle, and if it's going to be in a city, I think it could still be done in a city. It's just
not a traditional Predator movie. You'd have to do a new twist on it. Yeah.
I think the less we see of Predator until the end of the movie, the better.
Yeah, because they at least try to do that again in this one. They did kind of reveal them, I think, still a little bit early, but they at least waited a half hour.
Yeah, but in this one, it made sense for them. Like, it made more sense to show the Predators early, because it's like right before we get the Predator reveal, it's like the other thing is like they still do Predator reveals without the thing, because like they do cut shots of like views, like when Danny Trejo's dead and they're trying to trap him, they do a Predator perspective view.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I just mean, like in Predator 2, they did a full reveal basically in like the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, but like I'm thinking in my head, I was like, they shouldn't even do Predator perspective until like at least the last half of the movie.
Predator 1 did it really early on, because Predator 1 did it with the Scorpion.
Yeah, it was early on, but it was just like looking. I think this one is just like, oh, we're using the tech, but
he uses the tech for the Scorpion pretty early in the movie.
Okay. I couldn't.
Yeah,
it's been like 3 weeks, and I've been stuck in multiple Predator movies. They're all blending together. But yeah, no, I still think, yeah, but it's like, okay, now I know what I'm trying to put together. In Predator 1, yes, he does show up, but it's like,
it's very angled, awkward shots. Yeah.
But like, even when they're like, dude, there's something out there, and they hint it the whole time, he's not even there. Like, you don't see like the like effect of the predator until very late of the movie of him running around.
They did do that in Predators again.
Yeah, they did do that.
Yeah, they just had him staring into the sky, and they're like, "What is it?" And he's like, "Nothing." I was like, "Please stop doing them shot for shots."
Yeah, well, like they do that in Predator 2 as well. Like they for a little bit, like there's a scene where he's looking up at the skyline,
up to the ceiling, yeah,
and like he's like it's just not there. Like I think those are the best. Like kind of, even though it's kind of like okay, there's got to be in a Predator movie. I don't know if they do it in Prey, but it's like I think it's one of those things where like they know something is out there, and then all it is like a shot of like them looking into the woods, and like every time I'm looking like a Where's Waldo thing of like oh it's got to be here somewhere, and it's just not. But like in this one, it made sense. Like even though it's in like within the first hour they got the reveal, but I guess I'm gonna give this movie a pass for doing it because it makes sense that like the whole movie is like you're not on Earth, and like
so this is kind of brings me back because like what was it Strider was like, if you have to look at Predator 1 as just a 80s action film, wouldn't you rate it higher? I'm like, yes. But I'm looking at all the Predators movies, and they were all different genres at this point. Because the first one is very much 80s action. The second one is very much like 90s action. Like, and they're two completely different things.
I would say that the second one is more of an 80s action movie, and the first one is a little bit of... It's like the tail end of a 70s action movie because there's quiet 70s, like the movies in the 70s, they take their time. They're much longer. Predator 1 isn't long. Like it's not a super long movie, but they
do take their time before the action really kicks up.
Yeah. Like if you watch movies from the 70s, there's like before things actually like I think it's Escape from New York. I haven't watched it, but I remember hearing it, but it's just like there's so much time in the 70s where it's in the Escape from New York where it's just like before they even get to New York, he's just there wandering around. Another good example is the first Mad Max movie. Like in the first Mad Max movie, which I think came out 60s or 70s, I can't remember off the top of my head. Before you actually even get like, because when people think of Mad Max now, they're like, oh, cars and shootouts and all that stuff. There's the first like 2/3 of that movie is Mad Max is Max with his family.
Max being mad.
No, he's not mad. Like it's him just with his family, and like just he's like some like apocalypse cop. Like there's still cops like around, and it's showing like him being a cop and then like doing that, and it's like it's not until like the second half or the last chunk of the movie where he's like actually becomes the Mad Max that we know and like everyone points to, and it's just they take their time to the point where it's like this is really long. In the 80s, because like really, I only know this because I used to do a lot of research on movies, so it's like one of the few things I actually know slightly what I'm talking about. But pretty much for a new like time period, they'll start coming in there, but you won't see like fully like movies that personify like a decade until like 3 to 4 years. You'll start seeing hints of what they're doing there, and then by at least 5 years it's like definitely okay, this is an 80s or 90s movie.
Gotcha.
And so since I look at it that since Predator 2 came out in 1990, it was
produced and everything in the late 80s.
Yeah, in the late 80s, and it has very much of that ultra violence, very like no breathing, just boom, 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 boom. It is very much a slasher film in the daylight.
But yeah, so anyway, but they're still all different genres.
Oh yes, like, I agree with that.
Yeah,
yes.
It's hard to give them like, oh, but if you have to compare this within its genre, but we're looking at all the Predators to see how the Predator sequels hold up to the original Predator, and they're all so different because like Predators, it is an action movie, but it's also like just trying to be the first one again, which is like really boring. I think that's the thing. It's like, okay, I've seen this scene. I know what's going to happen next. Oh, you just threw in plot twists to make it different? That doesn't make it better.
Yeah. I wonder if this came out in the time when they were remaking a lot of movies for
I'd
China.
say so, the 2010s.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Because I think I went on a date with Strider in 2009, 2010, and we watched a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, it must have been the era of remakes.
Oh, I didn't even know that there was a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. So yeah, I know The Predator has terrible reviews. So we're in some fun. At least you got a breath of fresh air. Well, no, I guess it's bad for you because you're like, I watched a good one. Oh, now I got
a bunch of bad ones before I get back to a good one.
I'm like, I got a good one coming down the pipe from me.
Yeah, you'll have a good one, a couple of bad ones, and then a good one. I'll probably rewatch Prey because I didn't take notes because I was watching it like with family, so I wanted to just watch the movie.
Yeah, I can't help it. Any movie I watch, it's like I'm always making notes. It's one of those things, like, I can't help it. It's why my friends hate going with me to the movie theater, because like my notes will just be spoken out loud, and I'll just be like, yeah, here's this. Okay.
I watched the Bob's Burgers movie in theaters not too long ago, and I was getting annoyed because someone not too far from our seats was shouting, "I can't hear what he's saying," and I was like, you're making it worse for everyone around you, because if you can't hear what he's saying just listening, and you're saying very loudly enough for us 3 seats away to hear that you can't hear what he's saying, nobody can hear what he's saying.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, there's a movie coming out. I can't remember what it is. I thought there was a movie coming out that I actually want to go to theaters to see. I say this every time. I said that for Dune. I said that for like other things. I never go. And it's like, it's not even like COVID related. I just don't want to go out. I'm like, meh.
Leaving my house? Gross.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got a text that I forgot to cancel an order that I don't need because I have some stuff for the pets that are on auto ship. But, oh well. They'll just have stocks of snacks. But I realized we have almost been talking about Predators for about an hour, so we should probably start wrapping this up.
I will say, I think I like the format of like talk through the plot and
then insert things as we go along.
Things. Like, I think that kind of helps the flow a little bit more. It worked for Better Off Ted because it's like we can give the synopsis of the movie and like
it's a short synopsis. Like, there's not much happening in the show.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I will say there's one thing that I think after watching Predators that I think I would like to see, which I don't think will ever come out, is I think I would like to see, if they would ever do a TV show of Predator, I think I would like to see a TV show of maybe not them, those two, the couple that's left on there, or even Lawrence Fishburne, but somewhere on that island, on that other planet, like maybe one person like is the survivalist, and it's them surviving on that island, and I keep saying island, but on that planet, and it's like not even mention that it's like a predator thing until like and I know that people can't like hold on to their secrets, but it's just like I'm just imagining it's like, make it like an alien survival movie. That guy's by himself for like maybe the first episode, and like, yeah, you have him fight like alien creatures or something like that, and it's just like, oh man, that's pretty intense. Second episode or third episode of like him surviving, set up his base, we have the people come down, like we see the parachutes or whatever, and then he's just kind of like, well, I'm staying out of this, and like whatever, he meets someone there, and then like episode 4, it's like their predators are there. And it's like him.
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting thing where it's just like a 10 episode or even an 8 episode thing where it's just like
30 or 40 minute chunks of the 8 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like at the end of episode 2, we see like the people come down and he's like, okay, I got a chance or whatever. And like episode 3 is like him trying to explain like, dude, you gotta come listen to me. And like, you're normal. Like, I don't trust. And then like, you get, it's like if it's a girl that's the main character, there's going to be at least the one attractive dude, dads will be like, okay, I'll follow you, whatever. I'm a tough guy.
You've already got it all casted already.
Yeah, or I don't know, depending. I don't know how people cast anymore. It's just like, I don't know, might be another hot girl, and it's just like, oh yeah, I'm no hot girl, I still sound like this. But it's like, and they do that, and they're, but yeah, I don't know. This is how my brain thinks when I watch movies. It's just like, I don't like this, but what could I change to make things that I would want to watch? And I think I would watch a TV show that was like on that planet, showing survival, fighting little alien creatures that they leave on there. Because there's two different. They got the alien dogs, and then they have that weird creature that just shows up once in the woods.
The blood feud ?
Yeah. And then I think it would be really interesting to see like someone that has survived on that planet. Don't give anyone any information except they're on an alien planet. They're defending themselves against like different style aliens, and then it's like this predators, but it's all from the viewpoint of the survivalist. But they're not crazy. They're trying to help, and
more like a Bear Grylls type, and less that whatever Lawrence was supposed to be.
Yeah, and so. Maybe someone that isn't on their 10th season, but like maybe like their 5th or something. They're like, or 3rd or 4th, and they're like, I'm trying to help. And then I don't know. It could be how that like they get to Lawrence Fishburne, where it's just like they do get betrayed and like all this other stuff, to where they're like, it gets to the point where he's like, I ain't dealing with this, and he has trust issues because everyone tried to betray him. I think that would be an interesting thing. Like, he still lives, or she still lives. See, sorry, this is what my brain goes through. This is why
I'll just wrap up this episode with saying, and I quote from Itisdpayne, "We can't possibly have that much to talk about the movie. It's now an hour and 21 minutes into this recording."
Wait, I want to quote myself too. Hold on, what did I? I'm trying to remember something. What did I send you before? Let's see. There was something I wrote. I can't remember what movie it was. I don't know. I'm getting like so confused whether it's something I wrote or something I said, but no, I don't remember. Yep.
What, you saying I didn't hate it?
I don't remember. I wanted to say something, but I was like, none of these are funny. I'm done.
No.
I thought I wrote something funny.
It'll just be, now I have evidence of when you say, I'm sure we won't talk about this very much. I'll be like, no more story time. Because you say it'll take you forever to render if it's any longer than this.
I don't listen to myself. I say that a lot of time on stream. People are like, you said this. I'm like, no, I didn't. And then they send me a clip. And I'm like, oh, I did.
I'm going to be the one to say it. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'd usually have a long outro, but I don't want to make Itisdpayne's computer blow up. Bye-bye.
I want to give a long outro. There. Bye.